Do the Phoenix Suns screw their season over and possibly their future by not pulling the trigger on a Jimmy Butler trade at the trade deadline? It's Eric and Espo talking about what's trending now with the Phoenix Suns. You might think to yourself, well, then why are you talking about the Warriors? But Espo, obviously, all trade deadline and the months leading up beforehand, it was this public love affair between Jimmy Butler and the Suns. He ends up going to his mistress, the Golden State Warriors. Now they're married, signed a long-term contract, and they're 17-4 since the All-Star break. They've only lost a couple games with Jimmy and Steph in the lineup together, and the Suns are the Squidward meme on the outside, seeing them dance. Just sad. How do you feel now that the dust has settled and you've seen these two teams go in opposite directions since the trade deadline?
I wonder if the Golden State Warriors were always a more complete team that were just one piece away. I don't know that the Suns were that. And you can sit here and we can play that and we could say, hey, there's a world where the Suns right now are in that 5th or 6th seed because Jimmy Butler solved everything and Devin Booker looked like a different guy and Bradley Beal all of a sudden became a viable offensive and defensive option for this team. But in reality, I don't know that it would have been as good. And it would have come at the cost of having then pissed off Kevin Durant and dealing with everything that comes along with that. And would that have helped or hindered the franchise moving forward? It's that sliding doors thing. I know that's a reference you probably don't get because I'm old, but it's that what was the alternate future?
Sure.
And it's so tough to tell. But I think the Warriors, when you have Draymond Green to go along with Jimmy Butler, it makes it a lot easier for that defense to be really good.
Oh, yeah. And I agree with you where Golden State did seem like they were more a piece away, especially how we've seen the Suns play in the last couple of weeks. Now, obviously, if you still were able to hold on to Ryan Dunn and Oso Ighodaro, which in this proposed hypothetical Jimmy Butler deal that was shut down by Kevin Durant, you were getting Jimmy Butler and Jonathan Kuminga as well, along with some draft compensation. And I think for this season, you're not rattling off 17-4, 15-2 after that. But I think
you could have, but I just don't.
The team is more flawed beyond that, right? But then for me, I'm starting to put the pieces together, right? And I'm big on, I think KD has been great for this team. I do not think that KD is the big source of problems. But now you're going into a summer where the Kevin Durant trade feels like it's just looming over you. Sure, Gerald has reported, and we've heard reports out there that an extension for Kevin Durant and the Suns is still possible, but it feels like a long shot. So,
and me being 150 pounds by the bikini season is possible too, just not likely.
So I'm just going to gloss past that. But with this thing that we're looking at where now you have Kevin Durant, who's not signed by extension, you're going to have to trade him for obviously less value than what you would have gotten in that deal. And
are we sure though? Because I don't know that it will be less value
than Jimmy Butler, Jonathan Kuminga, and draft compensation.
Because Jimmy Butler, good in the near term, right? It's something that is certainly useful over the next few years. But if I can get young talent that can help me now and can grow with me and draft capital, I think it's probably just as good. The thing is, you're never going to get anywhere near what you gave up, which is going to upset some people, obviously. You're probably not going to get enough of the draft capital to make people feel like you've solved your future completely. But I think you can get close to the value you would have gotten at the trade deadline with Jimmy Butler involved and maybe a first-round pick to go along with Kuminga.
I think the tough line that they're going to have to walk, and we'll obviously take you through so many of these potential scenarios on PHNX Suns once the offseason mercifully hits us, but you do want those young players, right? If you can get a couple great high upside players, that's awesome, but you also have Devin Booker in the Ringers article with Logan Murdoch saying, I'm never rebuilding again. We're always going to be competing and trying to win championships, and for me, that potential Jimmy Butler deal walked this fine line of, okay, we've got Butler. You would have had to extend him for 2 years, just like the Warriors did. So you got 3 years of Jimmy Butler, including this year, right? Then you're getting Jonathan Kuminga, who you would, I think, still have to pay as well, but is still on the younger side. Matt Ishbia has no problem paying people, plus the draft picks, that's kind of how you talk yourself into it. A potential deal of all these young players, if you are getting that, doesn't satisfy or scratch that itch, in theory, of the win now around Devin Booker when you're moving on from a win now player in Kevin Durant.
Yeah, but I think if you look at it in a vacuum, sure, but nothing says those young guys you get, those picks that you get, couldn't then be flipped this offseason for somebody of more
established,
immediate help. So I think this is going to be a very tiered process this offseason. You've got to find a deal for Kevin Durant if you decide that that's the route you're going. Then you got to decide, are you buying out Bradley Beal? Are you trying to find a trade for him? What other moves can you make in terms of guys like Royce O'Neal or Grayson Allen? What does your draft look like? And all these things that I think you can put yourself back in the playoff picture next year. I think you're 1 or 2 years away from seriously being considered a contender. I think when Devin Booker says I'm not going through a rebuild, he's saying I'm not going back to an 18-win season where it's me and 4 G League guys playing out there. I think that's what he means. I imagine there's some acceptance that over the next year or two, you're not going to quite be where you want to be with the kind of expectations that you've seen over the last few years. I think next year is that transition year between who you are now and what you want to become to, a year or two down the line.
Sure, and getting back into your groove because, also the thing with the Kevin Durant trade, post-trade deadline, not being able to move on from Bradley Beal. I know it's so funny because we followed this word from preseason to season, and now it's the vibes, right? And I know you said if I hear vibes one more time, but going into the season, we talked about the vibes being better.
No, it's, you know what? It's culture. It's
culture, vibes.
There's all sorts of these words that you can, vibes itself drives me nuts.
So culture. So let's talk about culture then.
There's a de-evolution.
And so the culture has been going down, and I know a lot of people have poked holes in the leadership of Kevin Durant, the leadership of Devin Booker, even the leadership of Bradley Beal and some of the comments he's made out to media. I think if you pull off that deal and you bring Jimmy Butler here, I think he's a worse player than Kevin Durant right now. But there is something about setting a tone, and I think he's also done that in Golden State. And going into this offseason and knowing that you have that guy in the locker room, your Chris Paul type that's going to come out there and establish that. And I'm not saying that changes everything, but that is something that this team has been lacking.
But do you know you have that? Because this is Jimmy Butler.
You have it for at least a year.
Who has imploded multiple locker rooms now. Everyone he's been in, he's made the choice to make it, untenable eventually. So if he had come in here and you had similar issues and it didn't turn around, you didn't go 15-2 or 17-4, the kind of stuff that they're doing in Golden State, are we sure he would have been happy? I don't know, because I've seen that play out as well. Yeah,
it's the money. You got to pay him.
Though, to an extent, it is. But then it's also, are they showing me respect? Do I get along with it? And maybe the money would have made it all well and good. But this, as they say, the fish rots from the head, right? This is top down an issue. This is problematic throughout the organization, right? And until you change things, and you're obviously not changing ownership, so until you change your front office in some way, you have a defined vision, and then you go execute on it, and you have a coach and a front office that understand this is our plan and these are the ingredients we need. I don't think one player can fix a culture per se.
Sure.
It has to be everybody in lockstep. That's how these organizations that win do it successfully for a sustained period of time. Anybody can catch lightning in a bottle for a year or two, but if you want sustained success, you have to build it throughout the organization. And one Jimmy Butler trade would not have put him in that position.
It might have been the first step. And obviously, here's the thing. We'll never know because it's not going to happen. You're not going to go back in time and do that. And by the time Jimmy Butler wants to be traded again, who knows where the Suns are going to be. I know that, cleaning house and talking about all the problems of the Suns is something that you discussed on one of your most recent Southwest Biases. If you are missing Espo's voice on the pod, he has taken over Southwest Bias, diving into not only just Suns, but a lot of Suns talk, but of course, everything else around the Valley. You can find that on PHNX Sports right here on our YouTube channel if you hit subscribe. Also, you can find find it in your audio feeds, not only on the Suns audio feed, but also a separate Southwest bias feed. Check that out. Make sure you are supporting him. Of course, PHNX Suns will continue to bring you coverage throughout the rest of this godforsaken season and then into the offseason when all the moves are going to be coming in draft season and every free agent you could possibly imagine. We've got you covered 5 days a week right here on PHNX Sports, plus so much more. Diamondbacks, Cardinals, draft, U of A, ASU, Mercury, Rising, everything in one convenient location on PHNX Sports and GoPHNX.com. We'll be back with more cheerful topics at another time.